Okay, so I want to review a little bit, and then we're going to kind of add on to this thing we're talking about. We're talking about databases. And remember, the first thing we talked about is when do we need a database versus a list? And what's the delineating factor that, hey, we need a database for this, or a list will suffice? When I say a list, like a two-dimensional list, you know, like something you would put into a spreadsheet, yes. Yeah, when we're storing things about multiple things, that's when a list kind of falls apart and we need some kind of database. And we talk about databases, a couple things. There was a hierarchy there, right? There's a database, and under the database there are multiple tables or files. Inside of those tables and files, there are rows or records. Those rows or records are comprised of fields or columns, and those fields and columns are comprised of characters, bytes, bits. Okay, so that's the hierarchy. Now, a database itself is really just tables and files related together in a certain way, and then the metadata that goes around it. What was the metadata? What was metadata? I think tables we understand, relationships we understand. What was metadata? See?
Data about data.
Yeah, it's data about data. So it's a description of, hey, we're going to store student ID in here. This is the unique student ID, right? It's data about the data itself. Okay, so we kind of went through a little example of a university database, and we're going to do another example today, but we showed how things were related together. And every table has a unique column or columns that identifies a row. And what do we call that unique column or columns that identify a row? Like building and room number. What do we call that? The unique column. Student ID. What do we call that unique column? Very important term.
Primary key.
It is the primary key, right? It is the thing that we uniquely identify. And that's why you get a customer ID. That's why you get a student ID. That's why you get a driver's license number, right? We need to uniquely identify you in a database, right? That's what they're doing, okay? Now, that primary key can be referred to from other tables. Instead of putting in here the name Adam Berbera, we put in his student number, and it links to all his information in the student table. What do we call that key that points to a primary key? Refers to a primary key. What do we call that? Anyone? It's called a foreign key, right? It's a foreign key that points to a primary key. All right. So that was kind of the stuff we went over last class. Now, a database is, as you saw, a collection of tables, relationships, and metadata. What goes around a database is something called a database management system, DBMS, database management system. And a database management system is really software. Okay, it's software, it's programs that help us administer the database. You know, the database itself is like physical, tables, relationships, metadata. Database management system is software that goes around it. And we talk about database management systems. Here's some that are out there from various vendors that you may see in your career. DB2 is a relational database, like the structure I've been showing you from IBM. We're going to use Microsoft Access from Access. For bigger applications, they use something called SQL Server, SQL Server. Oracle, you've probably heard of Oracle before. Now, in MySQL, which is open source, and we learned what open source meant, right? It meant open, okay? MySQL is open source. Now, what do databases do? What do database management systems do? Well, we have this database, we have these rows, we have these records. Well, we need something to help us interact with the database itself. Okay? Database management has basically 4 operations. We can read from the database. You know, let's look up student ID 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a read kind of call. We can insert. Let's put in a new student. Let's put in student 999 into the table. We can change or modify, and we can delete. Okay, so we're going to see this when we go into Microsoft Access. We'll see how we do these 4 functions. Now, the database itself. Okay, we use the database management system to query the database. What does query mean? What does query mean? What is query? What is a query? what a query is? Query me this. Have you ever heard that? What's a query? If you had to guess, this your SAT.
I don't know.
Query is what, Nick? You look it up. You said enter.
Question.
It is. A query is a question. A query is a question. Think about a database. We are constantly querying the database. I want to know all the juniors that have a GPA greater than 3.0 that live in the Altoona area. That's a query, right? It's a question of the database. So the database has its own language. Okay, just like if we were going to ask someone who was from Spain a question, we would have to ask them in Spanish, right? If they were asking someone in America, they'd have to ask them in English. Well, database has its own language. It is called SQL, or Structured Query Language. And we're going to see some of this. Structured Query Language is the standard language that we use to communicate with databases, whether it be Access, whether it be DB2, whether it be Oracle. It is how we formulate a question of the database. If we wanted to know, show me the first and last name of students from Altoona, there is a select statement to do that. Okay, and we'll go into it a little bit, but if you take database management at St. Francis, that's what you'll spend your time on. But all I want you to know is that SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it is a query language. It's a way for us to question databases. SQL, often said SQL. Okay, SQL. Right? All right. So let's stop there. Okay, let's stop there with the new material. And I would like to do a little example. And you guys look very tired. I've seen a lot of yawns, so I'm going to make you work together. So let's say, how many people we have? 4, 8, 9, 14, 17. Let's do 5 groups. Okay, so let's do 5 groups. You're 1, JJ. So Nick, you are. 2. All right. You're 3, Malik. Sarah, you're 5. 5, 1, 2. Okay, so 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. Okay, get together. And we're going to, I think what's really important in this section, this chapter, okay, is to understand as a business professional this thing called a relational database and how to design one, how things work together. So we're going to do this piecemeal. Okay, but I'll give you like 5 minutes for the first part, then we'll come back together. I'll give you 5 minutes for the second part. We'll come back together and go from there. All right, so here's what we're going to do. All right, you are starting, you're very entrepreneurial, so you are starting a small company and you say, I want to take on Ticketmaster. They seem to have a monopoly, I'm tired of their policies, I think there's a niche market for me to get into there and to unseat Ticketmaster, right? That's your goal. So if you think about it like Ticketmaster, all you do, you don't have any physical products that you make or add value to. All you are is a service company, right? That's how you make money. You serve things. And then think about, to serve people, we need information, right? If we don't have any information, we can't serve anyone, especially what we're doing here. We're just selling electronic commodities, really. Given that, like Ticketmaster, you create no physical good and are strictly a service company, you need to design a database to facilitate your service. First, I want you to think about the themes, okay, the entities, the things you need to store information about. These will become our database tables, right? The things you need to store information about become tables. I don't want you to think about the fields, like I don't want to think about, I have to store capacity of the venue. I want you to think about the higher level, I have to store information about venues, right? That's one thing. So, when we did the unit, we said we need to store information about faculty, students, classroom. I want you to think about that level for this, okay? What are the themes? And I think you can get all your answers from what we do, okay? This is the sense. It says you sell tickets to events performed by various entertainers at various venues to various customers. So think about what the themes are. So talk amongst yourself. I'll give you guys like 5 minutes. We'll come together, 3 minutes maybe. We'll come together and then we'll think about those themes. Okay? This is where you talk to one another.
Gives us everything we need. That's what I look at. Events, customers, entertainers, venues,
That might be it.
Yeah, credit card numbers, that's too detailed. Too detailed, right? You could have that. And they probably do have a credit card or a payment table. That's deeper than we want to get right now. You're thinking like fields right now. Write it down. You do your best work. That's the 5 I would choose. But okay. So these guys have it, so I'm assuming you guys all have it as well. So let's think about, and I'm going to go into Excel for this instead of using the board. I want us to think about the 5 themes, the 5 things I want to store information about. So give me one. Go ahead. Venues, right? So where this thing is going to be. So I'm going to call this spreadsheet venues. Very good. What else do I need to store information about? The event itself, right? We hold events at venues. Yes? Very good. What else? Okay. Something has to be at the event, right? And we're thinking entertainers, whether it be the New York Mets, whether it be Neil Diamond, whatever, okay? So entertainers. Okay, now those are the things we're kind of selling. What else do we need? Okay, we need customers, right? We need to have information about our customers. And finally, what else? What brings those things together, right? Just like an enrollment brought together this and you, what brings those things together? The ticket, right? The order, if you will, okay? The ticket or order. So those are the 5 things as I would see them, okay? Now, some of you guys were saying multiple things like, I heard credit card statements. Okay, well, credit card is going to probably be a field that we have on file for various customers, yes? Now, sometimes we have, like for example, on Amazon, I think I have like 5 credit cards on file, right? So there's probably, for John Miko, there's probably a credit card table, and I probably have 5 records in that table that points to John Miko. So, we're not going to go to that level, but yeah, you're probably right. There probably is a payment table, right? There probably is. Did anyone have any other kinds of things that they thought we should store information about? I kind of led you to these 5 because I wanted to be standard. But anyone else have any other thoughts about things we could store information about? No, that was it? Okay. All right. Well, here's what I'd like you to do, okay? I would like you to take these 5 tables. Next step, I would like you, these are going to be our 5 tables. And what I would do is I'd like you to think about, what kind of information goes in that table. And one thing that every table has to have is what? Every table has to have one field it has to have is what? A primary key. So I want you to go through those 5 things and think about what the primary key is and a couple fields that you would want to store. Now, when we design this in a database, it's hard to see this, so let me make it bigger. It's going to look something like this. Like this might be a student table where we say, hey, we're going to store student social security number. What do you think that gold key besides student social security number is? It's the primary key. Student first name, student last name, student city, student state, major, class, GPA, zip. So I want you to take each of those 5 tables. You can do this in Excel or do it on paper, I don't care. But I want you to think about a handful of fields that you would want to store in those tables. Okay? So take like 5 minutes and do that. We'll come back together, and then we'll put this all together on this mirror. You're lost, Malik?
Now with the size of it.
Two events are at the same time. We would be, that's where the venue would come. We have, like, the event could be at the same time. Like, say we could have events at 7 o'clock at night. The venue has that. We would have a field in that event for the venue. And put our venue, that would give you capacity.
All the events be under in their own unique key under events.
So almost like instead of like a student ID, you'd have like ID. Yeah, that might,
I don't know if event ID is the right one.
yeah. I get the concept is there. And that could, we can use that for like entertainment to the event. Yeah. Customers. So you can use that.
Yeah, I guess we could do that.
Alright, we just move that table and you can have a table with events. So we've got type, events,
Unless you want to actually.
we do size navigation. We do time.
Event ID location.
That sign class looks a lot more fun than this one. We're dancing and signing. Huh? I don't know anything. I can do the alphabet, I think.
Says location, should we put venue? Yeah, venue, you can put like the actual location, like the address of the.
That's right.
Capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do it instead of an ID, like they use to or something.
Yeah.
You have to keep things like
She falls to face of yours. Lady Gaga hooked up. I don't know. Yes. She's like,
In like the bandwidth.
she was so
Wow.
but it was like,
You're a what?
Your brother.
You're a man?
Do people like idiots ask you if you're identical?
yeah.
No, they're two have their voice.
They're like the
My favorite one.
And actually, then you, that's how it yeah.
It makes it more like.
Let's take it. Take it number. Something way group. You take it to everyone.
Thinking ahead, that's it, Aaron.
What's that?
Thinking ahead, I like that. Thinking about how to link them, that's good.
That's the event that I do. And like on tickets, they tell you your ticket number would kind of be like the customer thing, but then it would tell you the venue, the entertainer, and the actual event. You get
We probably, when I look at it, we probably would have, there probably needs to be a ticket table. For our,
yeah, I get what you're saying, because people order like 5 or 6 tickets.
Exactly.
And you're just tracking.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
so if we had a ticket table, we could say, here's all the tickets, and then it would link to the ones that are on this order. So that's what, really probably how it would be. I didn't think of that, but as I put it up there, I'm like, oh yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so let's build our little database out. So I'll go a group at a time. There's 5 groups. We have 5 tables, worked out nicely. So let's say group 1. What kind of fields would we store for customer? Go ahead.
Username.
All right, so when you say username, do you mean like first name, last name, or username?
Like a username, like
All
a
right.
customer ID that identifies them.
Okay, so you're saying customer ID?
Yeah, it could be either
Okay.
a number or the username.
All right, you're right. So something unique. So that's going to be your primary key, yes?
Yes.
Okay. What else then would you want to store about customers?
Their actual name.
Their name, so maybe first name. Probably store. It's good practice to store first name, last name separately. Maybe even middle name, middle initial. What else?
Their credit card information as well as their age.
Okay.
date of birth or whatever.
So DOB, that's true. So you would really have, I mean, something important, probably their address, right? Anything that you think about when you fill out a new account, you know, the kind of things they're asking for you, right? The form you fill out, what are they asking you? They're asking you to help them populate their customer table for you, right? Put in your name, your middle initial, your last name, your address, you know, all those things are important. Your email address, maybe your cell phone. Think about that. That's what they're asking you to do, is build out this table for them, right? So maybe tens, maybe dozens, maybe even hundreds of fields in there. And sometimes they even get information, they buy information to fill it out even more on you, right? They say, so this is the information you gave them, but they can go to third-party vendors and buy all kind of information on you. They can say, well, I also know that Aaron subscribes to this magazine. I know that he also bought tickets, you know, to this. So they store a lot of information on you, not just what you give them. They can go out and get other information, right? And then they track all your hours, all that stuff. But good, that's good. That's a great start. So group 2, do you want to build out venue for me? How about venue? Who's group 2? Group 2. Venue. Let's do venue.
Like capacity.
All right, so that's definitely a field I'd want to store, right? So capacity, that would be a numeric field, right? That a number. What else?
Name.
Sure, yeah, the name of the venue. Maybe the Coliseum, or Stokes, or JFK, or whatever it might be. Yes. What else?
Time and location.
Does a venue have a time and location? Do we say SCOTUS is March 3rd, 2015 at 3 p.m.? Where would time and location go? Not on the venue itself, but where? On the events, right? Time and date are associated with the events. This room is timeless, right? It just sits here 24/7. Yes, so it really doesn't have a time and date. What else? What else would you want to store about the venue? So I need something to uniquely identify it. Yes, I don't have a primary key yet. So do you guys suggest the primary key? When in doubt? Go ahead, Alex.
Just the name.
I would say name. Usually we want something like this, an ID type of thing, right? Because why the name doesn't work is when I'm searching for something. Now search tools are better.
Like an address.
Yeah, but what do we call JFK, or do we call it John F. Kennedy Student Center? Or do we call it John Fitzgerald Kennedy Student Center? You know what I mean? So I want to, there's a name, but I want something that is like, oh, that's venue 126. So what we typically do is it has a venue ID, right? So, it could be a numeric, could be alphanumeric, but it's something like, you see like A1345, something that makes it unique. We definitely want the name of the venue, the capacity of the venue. Maybe some other fields would be what? What other kinds of things would we want to associate with a venue? Like the aspects of the venue. Yeah, very good. So we would want to know, like, I don't know, is it set up for concerts? Maybe that's a yes/no flag. It's called Boolean. Maybe we want to know what kind of, speaker system it has. Is it indoor, outdoor? Those would be things. And maybe the address of the venue. Like, where the hell is it at? What's the address? So there's many fields we could store about the venue, but everything in that table has to be associated with only the venue. Okay? Very good. So this would be our primary key. Let's go to entertainer, or let's go to entertainer. Who's group 3? What's group 3 at? So entertainer, what do you guys think, Steve?
Saying like what type of events, like your musician.
Okay, so entertainer type, I guess, right? And so this is where metadata would come in, because entertainer type, I'm like, what the hell do I put in there, right? So you would need metadata to say, it could either be like maybe a drop down that says, could be sports, could be music, could be poetry, could be, I don't know, martial arts, I don't know, whatever, right? It could be anything. Roller derby. So you would need metadata to describe what the hell goes in there, yes? Okay, what else?
Like, I guess, length of event, like how long they usually run. Under events.
I would put that under events, right? Because the event, you're going to say it's on this date, this time, runs for 90 minutes, right? Because Neil Diamond can do a 2-hour concert or a 7-hour concert, right? Perhaps. So what else? What else would go with the entertainer? I like when you said how long they usually run. What else is important? Like when Dr. Fry books those speakers, he goes through a speaker bureau, which kind of does the same thing as like a Ticketmaster, right? And there is, usually a booking fee. What's their typical booking fee, right?
That's like how much it costs.
Yeah, so we'd call it like a booking fee, perhaps, yes? Obviously their name, or, maybe if it's a person, a name, perhaps maybe availability windows, that'd probably be separate, but maybe
If you're
like,
having like multiple entertainers, you have to like windows, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe you need to, and that would probably be separate. That'd probably be like a calendar function tied to entertainer. That'd probably end up being a different table. But you know, where you'd have all their events and go through that. But yeah. So what do we need though? We're still kind of lacking that primary key. So I would say it'd be what? Let's just throw in entertainer ID, right? And that's typically, it's not that creative. Entertainer ID. You know, because we really don't care. That number just makes it unique. We don't care what it is. A lot of times when you go in a database, like you get a sequential number. Like you didn't care that your driver's license number was 22019543, right? You didn't say like, oh, I really wanted. You didn't care. Because all it cares about is that you're unique in the table, right? No one cares about that. So typically these IDs are that way, okay? Why, by the way, why did we not use Social Security number? Why do most people not use Social Security number anymore? St. Francis used to use Social Security number as student IDs. What's problematic with using Social Security number as student ID? There's two things problematic about it. So now they have like a student number. It used to be your student Social Security number with your student ID. Mr. Kane?
I don't know if you lost your ID, someone else would have your social security.
Yeah, very good. A lot of times what they would do, your Social Security number, it's still your identity, right? It could be Mr. Kane. So what people would do is like, hey, we're signing up for a meal, put your student ID up here. And so people would put publicly their Social Security number. My name is blah, blah, blah. Here's my, people steal your identity. That was problematic. What was the other problem with it, Mr. Kane? Who doesn't have Social Security numbers that still are St. Francis students and we love them?
Foreigners?
Yeah, international students, right? Some of them do not have Social Security numbers. Very good, okay? So let's go to events. Okay, let's go to events. Who had events? Group 4, right? Group 4. So Adam, go ahead, Adam.
We said time, location.
Okay, very good. So time, date, right, Adam? Very important stuff. Well, you said location. Okay. What do we do instead of location? Would we say location, or how would we integrate what we already have to demonstrate location, Mr. Kane?
Well, I mean, would you put the venue ID down there?
I would. That's exactly how I'd do. Okay. What else? What else?
We put type of event, like maybe it's a concert.
Sure. Yeah. Type. Right. What else? So this is step 3, but you're right. Venue ID would need to be tied to venue. And what do we call this? Because it's pointing to a primary key in another table. We call it a foreign key. Very good. So what else are we missing here? Okay, we have a time, we have a date, we have a location, we have a type. What are we missing though? What is the one important component we're missing? We're going to have an event. This is going to be a very boring event.
The entertainer?
We need an entertainer. So how would I get that in there, Mr. Kane?
The entertainer ID.
Very good. So I would say the entertainer that's going to be here, I'm not going to put all that entertainer's information in here. I'm just going to say, hey, let's point to the primary key over here, entertainer ID, and this is a foreign key, right? That's a foreign key, yes. So I would need some kind of event ID, and once again, this is just an event ID. It could be comprised of, I don't know, sometimes their primary keys are made of multiple things, like the time and date might be part of that, but just let's just say it's a sequential number, okay? So very good, okay, very good. Okay, so we have it in a venue, we have entertainers performing. What's next? Okay, so we have all this set up. How does all this come together so people come? So this is, we are Ticketmaster, we have all this in our database. How do we make money? We sell tickets or orders. So what would that look like? This group 5. Okay, so we have a ticket number and okay. Okay, so we need to tie to the event. So this is a ticket for this event. So that's the primary key here. So that would be the foreign key. And what else, Elena? Okay, well, do we need where it is here? Because
Did you put like the scene stuff on it?
the what?
The seat, like if you buy tickets.
Mm-hmm. So the seat.
Time, price.
Do we need price? I would say sure. Okay, but you mentioned location. I have location. I don't need to store location. Why? Where do I have location? Yeah, because I'm tied to the event ID, boom, which is tied to the venue, boom, which has the address, right? So I'm not going to store it again. I want to store it one place so that if that, I don't know, if they move JFK, right? I wouldn't have to change the address on every damn ticket sale. I'd change it in one place and it automatically flows through, right? That's the beautiful thing about relationships. So very good. So the price, what else? We're missing a big component here. Yeah, very good. So we got to sell to, this is the primary key here, we have to sell to a customer. Now, and this could be a foreign key pointing to, this person, right? Now, a couple things. When we designed this, probably what it would be, not like my order, not like my situation. When I thought of this, I tried to simplify it, but there would probably be a ticket table that had all the available tickets for the event, tied to the event, right? Tied to the event. And then orders would be tied to the tickets. Like, because John Miko, right, could order 4 tickets, or 5 tickets, or take the whole family 7 tickets, right? So I would be tied then to the 7 tickets, right? So that would, because when we have what we call a many-to-many relationship, we need to use 2 tables for that. Now, that was a very good, you guys, that was very good job. And you think about it, what's beautiful and elegant about this is we take a fairly complex situation, right? We need to get customers and entertainers and tickets and orders and events, and we model it. This is called a database model. We model it with just a series of 2-dimensional tables tied together. This is how things are stored in 99% of the databases in the world. So if you're working for a company that uses Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, MySQL, it doesn't matter. This is going to be the structure. So as a business person, if you can understand this structure and how things come together, well, you're going to be better off for it. Now, we talked about querying a database, asking a question. What's nice is I don't have to know all this background information. I don't have to know that, hey, the address is over here. I want to see the address for these tickets. My database management system will take care of that because it knows this is tied to here, so it pulls the address here. And if you think about your ticket, I heard Aaron doing this, and it was very good. He said, you think about the ticket. What information does it have on it? It has the order number, right? It has the seat, the location, but it also has the entertainer. It has the event, right? This is the Game 7 of the World Series. It has where it's at, yes? And it even has your name on it, like John Miko bought these tickets. So that ticket is pulling information from all of those tables. That's all that stuff comes together. And when they produce those tickets, they're hitting all those tables in a database. But it's not just thrown in there, right? It's designed, it's predetermined, it's tied together appropriately, because if you don't do it that way, believe me, it's a nightmare, it's a mess, and you can't maintain it, okay? Very good. So what we're going to do on Monday is maybe we'll take this same database, and we're going to put it into Microsoft Access. So we're not just going to design it, that's what we did here, but we're going to make it. Okay, we're going to make it an Access, use Access to teach databases. So have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you on Monday.